And now data released by the government-backed mortgage firms has revealed that interest rates for 30-year mortgages in the country have risen to the highest level in 10 years. The average rate for low-risk fixed-rate mortgages hit 5% last week. According to a statement from the mortgage firm, as Americans contend with historically high inflation, the combination of rising mortgage rates, elevated home prices, and tight inventory are making the pursuit of homeownership the most expensive in a generation. This will see tens of millions of people face higher monthly mortgage payments than they expected, but the actual size of mortgage payments varies a lot by country. Business Insider has collected data from online real estate marketplaces to investigate the average monthly cost of mortgage. On a national scale, they found that the average monthly payment on a 30-year fixed mortgage is around $1,159. But the thing is, the average figure is not entirely representative because a smaller number of extremely valuable properties can have an outsized impact on the figure. For this reason, Business Insider have studied the median monthly cost of mortgage payments, which is currently around $1,600. Properties in states like California, Hawaii, and New Jersey are more costly on average, and so they have some of the highest median monthly mortgage payments in the country. In DC, the amount is around $2,700. The median monthly mortgage payment in Hawaii is around $2,500. So as you would expect, with interest rates up and average mortgage repayments on the rise, the amount of debt per homeowner is rapidly increasing. President Biden has to do something about this, everybody. If you guys agree, tell me in the comments. As the crisis still continues to impact the nation, there is one recently proposed benefit that could help address the increasing poverty rate. The new relief program will provide extra stimulus money to people that cannot afford to pay their expenses, like rent or groceries. So when the crisis hit, many people felt the financial shock of a sudden drop in income. According to a poll conducted by a bipartisan policy center, if the same kind of event were to happen today, many people would still struggle financially. According to the report, there is one solution that could help, and that is emergency saving plans provided through employers. The survey found 42% of employed Americans feel very or somewhat financially insecure, and 24% have zero savings set aside for an emergency expense. 1/3 of working adults say they would be very somewhat uncomfortable with their ability to pay a $400 emergency expense. At the same time, 30% of Americans said they could cover a month or less of expenses if their income disappeared. If employers offered another benefit, emergency savings accounts, that may help employees establish a financial buffer and prevent them from dipping into their long-term investments. Like retirement plans, the emergency savings accounts will be linked to payroll. Workers could choose to set aside an after-tax portion on their paychecks toward their emergency savings funds. Now, there are many new relief checks that will be going out this year. According to Congress's new announcement, Social Security beneficiaries could also see an extra boosted monthly benefit increase very soon. Millions of senior citizens may be eligible to receive a $1,400 stimulus payment from the federal government right now. And everybody, millions of senior citizens have been hit hard by inflation, which is at the highest in 30 years. It's eating into fixed incomes and creating hardship for many people. Now, the situation has prompted calls for top Democratic lawmakers and advocacy groups for a remedy in the form of a one-time $1,400 stimulus check for anyone on Social Security benefits. Now, folks, I think this decision does make sense. On an annual basis, the Social Security Administration increases monthly payments to account for any rise in the cost of living. Although this year's cost of living adjustment was the highest in 40 years, higher Medicare premiums will offset much of these gains. Additionally, the record increase could also put some beneficiaries into a higher tax bracket, eroding the annual boost in entitlements. Although benefits are indexed so the beneficiaries don't lose purchasing power as inflation pushes up the cost of everyday items, the increase for 2021 was just 1.3%. Although benefits are indexed so that beneficiaries don't lose purchasing power as inflation pushes up the cost of everyday items, the increase for 2021 was just 1.3%, or an extra $20 per month on average. But as the U.S. climbs out of the economic crisis induced by the crisis, which also disrupted supply chains worldwide, there has been unprecedented inflation in 2021. Around 86% of Social Security recipients surveyed told an advocacy group called the Senior Citizens League that their expenses increased by much more than that amount. This has forced some to take some drastic steps after having exhausted their retirement savings. Hundreds of thousands of Social Security recipients have told the Senior Citizens League of the hardships they are facing because they can't afford the rising price of everyday necessities. It's also clear that this crisis continues and more stimulus checks should be sent out soon. Around 86% of Social Security recipients that were surveyed told an advocacy group called the Senior Citizens League that their expenses increased by much more than that amount. Now, this has forced Some people to take drastic steps after exhausting their retirement savings. Hundreds of thousands of Social Security recipients have told the Senior Citizens League of the hardships they are experiencing because they can't afford the rising prices of everyday necessities. It's also clear that as the crisis continues, more stimulus checks have to be sent out.
Hello everyone, thank you all for joining us. Before we get started, I just want to acknowledge a few people. First and foremost, thank you so much, President Dr. Susan Barnes, for having us. Let's give her a praise. Also want to recognize and give a shout out to our incredible student leaders joining us, Daniel, Raven, and Dawn Velez. I also just want to take a point of personal privilege and recognize Ada Reyes, who's also a student. She's a student, former student here, but also a former student at Costa Middle School, where I served as principal for 10 years. Here's Ada. Ada, we had big dreams all those years ago, and now we're sitting here at your alma mater. So this is an incredibly special moment. I also need to recognize so many of our women trailblazers and leaders in the audience. This is Women's History Month, so please shout to all the women in the house. Round of applause, please. I recognize Darcel Klopp, DA, Senator and Special Advisor to the Governor, Ruth Castle Thompson. Community Organizer, Eileen O'Connor. And representing the Westchester DA's office, Leela Curtin is not here, but I want to give her a shout out. Also representing 100 Hispanic women of Westchester, Julia Carias and Elaine